All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Dan from Make Music. I'm very excited that we're here for our third finale roundtable, where we get a chance to sit down with members of the finale team, talk about our favorite music notation software, get to know the members of the team. I'm here today with Marco, John, and Jason, and we're going to be talking about a big feature from the version 27 launch, which is sharing. But before we get into that, let's just take a moment, let the team members introduce themselves. Marco, you want to start us off?
Sure, yeah, I can get started. Hi, I'm Marco. I'm a finale engineer. And I've been with Make Music for coming up in 6 years now. And I've been using Finale since Finale Notepad 2005. So I guess that means that I'm coming up in 16 years with it now. And that includes 4 years of college as well. I was a music composition undergrad.
Awesome. John, you've been with us on a stream before, but you want to reintroduce yourself?
Sure. Yep. I'm John Chigfry. I am the product manager for audio notation here at Make Music, which basically means, for the most part, I work with a Finale team on a daily basis to make sure we're shipping good software to you all. I've been with the company since 2011. I've been using Finale. I forget what my first version was. It was in high school when I first started using it. So it was probably like Finale 97 or maybe 2002. I'm not sure. I remember before that I used this freeware tool called Anvil Studio. That was the first time I ever knew anything about like MIDI or computer notation. That was in middle school, I think. But anyway, yeah, Finale, I go back to high school. So it's been a while.
Great. And Jason.
I'm Jason Wick. I'm the senior manager here at Make Music, which includes the Finale team. And I've been here with the company for about 7 years. I started off as an automation engineer. So I was writing automated tests around the Finale product when I was started off with the company. And I've been using Finale for a little over 20 years or so at this point.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always so cool to hear all the team members' backgrounds with Finale, because everyone's been using it for so much longer than they've been a part of the company. So they have such a deep background in the product itself, and then they get to come and join the team and just to help keep making it better and better. So as we said before, we're going to be talking about sharing. Sharing was a big feature that launched with version 27 a couple months ago, and we have received a lot of questions from users about it across the board. Mainly, they boil down to what is sharing and why is it important to me? Never a question you want to hear, right? So we're gonna talk about that today. We're gonna clear all that up. So let's just start with the big one. What is sharing in this context? What do we mean when we talk about it as a feature, and how does it work? John, you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. So sharing as a feature in Finale is new to version 27, which came out in June this year. Just to give a little background, so Finale's been the sheet music creation tool of choice for so many people for a really long time. And a couple of years ago, I sat down with one of our executives here at Make Music, and we decided to take a fresh look at what music notation actually means to real musicians. We realized we've got this world-class creation tool, but that's where our offering ended. And there's a lot that happens between just printing out your notated document, handing it to your musicians, and then giving a great performance. So the challenge that we had going into version 27 was to find a way to connect Finale more, what's the word I'm looking for? More indelibly into the whole music making process. And that meant finding a better way to connect musicians to each other through the sheet music. That's really the vehicle through which we are able to come together and give a great performance. So the sharing feature in 27 is our answer to that challenge. In version 27, once you finish creating your document, you simply go to the file menu, choose share, And after a few clicks, you have invited your musicians to view your document in our web app. The best part of this, other than how easy it is, and I think Marco will probably speak to that in a little bit, is all the stuff that your recipients can actually do with your music. So on any device, they can view the notation, they can hear it played with the same Garriton sounds that Finale uses. They can perform along with the other instruments playing back, and they can even get real-time feedback on their performance. There's some other tools in there. They can change the tempo, transpose it up or down, focus on a specific section in a loop, all kinds of tools to help them practice the music. And it gives them everything they need to be prepared to come to rehearsal and ultimately be ready for the performance. And I think that's really what we were getting at with, like I said, a couple of years ago, we were trying to figure out what more could we do other than just create the sheet music to begin with. And it's this idea of like, how great would it be if everybody could come to rehearsal and use the time effectively to actually focus on making music rather than just sitting at the piano and learning the notes, right?
So yeah, so we're turning Finale and the whole process from just the creation tool to a full-on collaboration between the musicians and the composers, which is a connection that you don't always get when you're a member of an ensemble. So that's really quite amazing. Just to clarify a little bit, you mentioned the web app. If I'm a musician, to use this web app, do I need any sort of account? Do I need to pay anything in order to access it?
You don't need a subscription, and for most of the features, you actually don't even need to create an account. The person who's sharing the music with you can simply send you a link, what we call a public link, and you can open that in your browser in our web app without having to sign into anything. Some of those other features I was talking about, like assessment, you do need to create a free account, but there's absolutely no subscription required.
Great. And as the composer, do I need any sort of subscription beyond my Finale license?
Nope, you need the Finale license and then just create the free account on the web. And then you'll be able to log in actually in the Finale application and do everything from there.
Awesome. So super easy, seamless, great way to collaborate. Now let's take a little turn here. So the sharing feature, who is it for? Finale, as we mentioned, has a huge wide audience of composers and arrangers who create for any shape and size of ensemble you can think of. Is this a feature we think everyone who uses Finale can benefit from?
Yeah, it's probably not literally every single user, but I will say what our research shows is that essentially 3/4 of Finale users have the intention of the music that they're preparing or creating in Finale to reach the hands of a performer. So when you look at kind of what are we trying to do with Finale, of course, we're trying to enable the user to create really nice looking music, but we're also trying to help them get their music prepared and performed more. So essentially, if you work with an ensemble, if you work with someone who's going to consume the music that you're preparing, then the sharing feature is something that you should try out. I understand that it might be the word share and sharing might bring a lot of different connotations for different people, but the crux of it is I've created some music and I want someone else to play it. From within Finale, I can share that with them so that they can practice it and be ready to play that in whatever context that is. So I think once enough people really get their hands on it, you can see that it's really for quite a few people who are using Finale.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and turn things over to Marco here for a moment. He's going to pull up a demo video to show us just exactly how this works and how easy it really is.
All right, and just bear with me here. I think I'm doing the right thing.
The fun of Zoom.
Yeah.
All right, can you guys see my YouTube video? Okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Dan said, I'm just gonna give you a quick demo on how you can get started with sharing your file. And the process starts with having your file open in Finale and going to File Share. And at this point, the first time that you share your file, you're gonna be prompted to enter your credentials. But don't worry too much about this step. This step is only going to happen once. Once you enter your credentials, Finale will make sure to securely store your credentials so that the next time that you want to share your file, you can skip this step. But for now, since this is my first time, I'm going to enter my credentials and then go to the next step, which is choosing one of these three options. And I'll just briefly go through what each one of these options means. So the first option, which is share privately, means that you have entire control over who can access your content. And you can specify that by indicating which emails you want to have access to your content, and only they are going to be able to access it. That's the first option. The next option is the public link option that John mentioned earlier. And this one is a bit more accessible. So you get a public link, and then anyone that you share your public link with can have access to your content. So as long as you have that link, you have access. And then this last option, which is called upload only, essentially it just means that only you have access to your content, but now your content is in the cloud. And in this demo, we're actually going to choose upload only. So this is the next step that you're going to be presented with when you share your file. This is going to be very typically a simple step. It's just a place where you can check that your instruments are mapped correctly. And Finale does all of this work for you most of the time, but there's going to be maybe some times where you're going to have to make some adjustments here. And then once you make sure that all of these are correct, you can go ahead and click share. And at that point, you are done. So at this point, if you had chosen to privately share your content, your recipients would have already received an email that includes a link where they can click it and then get instant access to your content, to your music. If you had chosen the public link option, you would received you would have received here a URL that you can now share. And with the option that we chose, which is the upload only, that just means that my music is now instantly available from my Smart Music account. And that is essentially all the process that you have to go through when you want to share your music. And I'm gonna stop sharing right there. One thing that I want to also talk about here is that how I would have wanted to use this kind of feature when I was a student. So as I said earlier, I was a music composition student, and the last year project that we all do is this large ensemble piece that also gets performed. And of course, my piece had errors, and I didn't find those errors until the first day of the rehearsal. And the process that I had to go through back then was, find the error, go back to my computer, make all the adjustments, re-export all of the parts that were affected by this error. Then I had to create an individual email for all of my performers that need to receive an adjusted part, and making sure that I attach the right PDF to the right email and all those things, and then send that email. And then on the receiving end, so for my performers, some of them now have 2 copies of the PDFs of their part, right? So now they have to be able to remember like which part is the one that I need to bring to the rehearsal, and that can be confusing and sometimes lead to errors or confusion during a rehearsal. So the reason why I would have loved to have this feature back then is because the process would have been a lot easier and faster. I would have just come back to my computer, made the change in the score, and then do a reshare, which the reshare looks very similar to the sharing process. And I would essentially be done. At that point, everyone who has received a link to my piece, they would have had instant access to the updated version of the piece, and there's no confusion around. Okay, so am I printing this? Is this the correct file to bring to rehearsal or not? Like, there's only one file, and they get it, and it's up to date. Yeah, so those were, I guess, the points that I wanted to touch on and sort of emphasize about how much I would have loved to use this feature when I was in school, and how easy that, or how much simpler that would have made my life back then.
Definitely. Thanks so much for sharing. There's so much value I can see in that example you just gave, whether it's a composition major, working on a recital, a marching band arranger or director who is trying to find kind of that, as the numbers start to settle towards the start of the school year and has to keep making edits and updates. It's so much easier to send it to the students. I mean, musicals, any sort of situation you can think of where the composer wants to collaborate or needs to update things. It just helps them out with that. Now, okay, just to speak to that, just a little follow up to that point though. It's also pretty easy for me to just export a PDF. Also, it's a couple button clicks. What else makes this so much easier than what I'm doing already? Why should I change my workflow to use this new feature?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that as well. So part of what my performers get on top of getting an instant up-to-date copy of my music is that they can also make use of the practice app, right? Mm-hmm. And the practice app is an excellent tool to practice. And it allows you to be a lot more prepared for when you want to go to a rehearsal. So in that way, it also would have improved my experience back in college.
And also, if I'm a performer and I'm practicing and you make an update, I don't need to wait till the next rehearsal to get my updated copy, correct?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Awesome. But what if I like having paper copies in front of me? Some people, it's hard to stare at a screen for so long. Is there a way I can download it, print it from that shared file?
Yeah, totally. So if you're used to, like, if you're set in your ways, this feature would also help you. When you get, as a performer, when you get a piece of content shared with you, you also have the ability to download the content as a PDF file if the creator decided that you should have access to it as a PDF. So as a creator, I can also decide whether I want my recipients to be able to download it or not download it as a PDF file.
Great. Cool. So let's focus on a different question, and this is one that we get anytime a new feature comes out, anytime a new version drops. We always, we have excitement for the features we have, but there's always a couple of questions of why, like why this instead of that. So what made sharing a priority over any other features that could have been added in the initial V27 release?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Which is oftentimes my job anyway, being the person managing the finale backlog and deciding what's going to go in a release. So we've talked about this a little bit before with some blog posts, and I think I've mentioned it in the first roundtable discussion. Especially with version 27 and moving forward, we're looking at finale as part of a larger toolkit, if you will, that people use. People don't use finale just to use finale, right? It's a tool for a specific purpose. And that purpose is part of that larger context of making music together with other people. So we're really viewing where we're going with the product more towards making music together. In order to do that, we wanted to have some solution, like I alluded to before, where you're connecting the person creating the content to the person consuming it. We already had this practice app available in our online web ecosystem. And so it was making the connection between Finale and that practice app. We already had the assets. It was simply a matter of hooking them up together. So it was really kind of a no-brainer that this was a great first step that we should take in version 27. And I also think, particularly now where we are in the world with the pandemic and people really craving human connection with each other, this is the perfect time to be going in this direction. It's more difficult than ever to actually make music together. And so it's, I think, incumbent upon companies like us who are so focused on the convergence of music and technology to come up with those solutions. And sharing is really where we're investing.
Yeah, definitely. Music is and always has been a group community activity. So any way we can help bridge that gap. Now, just to make sure, just because we focus on a feature like sharing, that doesn't mean we're not focusing on other features and fixes, right?
Yeah, sharing was just one of the things we included in version 27. Certainly, we've talked about Smoofle before. That was a big effort. We're continuing to work on that in the dot releases for version 27. There was all the work on instruments. There was including Music XML 4.0. There was some platform-specific things for Mac and for Windows to make the user experience better. We don't like sticking to just one thing with a release. We want to bring as many types of value to our users as we can. And I think that actually speaks a little bit to also this idea of like Jason said, bringing more music into the world and bringing more people together. That's one of the great advantages of connecting Finale to this web app infrastructure, where you don't have to be tied down to a particular device. You don't have to be tied down necessarily to a specific operating system, right? Because it's a web app, anybody can access it.
Yeah, and I definitely would love to jump on that a little bit, which also relates to why choose sharing, maybe compared to other potential features or fixes that some users might have been hoping for, which is understandable. Again, when you're talking about Finale and its place in the world of music making, as John just said, it's one tool amidst several that a musician is going to use. I can speak personally from a former life as someone who was a private teacher, a jazz musician, an arranger, wrote music for video games and films and things like that. When you talk about the specific times where I needed to get the music in someone else's hands, that was a very tight and slim margin for error process, right? Even with mobile phones and tablets and whatnot, maybe I have more flexibility today, but the other piece that's still on the other end of this is who's getting that music. So if I can send that music to a musician that I'm working with, and they can access that from anywhere at any time, that other fellow musician I know who's going through the same rigors of the day of private teaching and then running over to rehearsal, and then they have a gig that night, they literally may only have time to bring up their phone and look at the link that the sharer from Finale sent them. But that gives them that chance to take a look at the piece, the new arrangement, and be prepared for either the rehearsal tonight or the gig tonight if they haven't had a chance. That's just it's a luxury that I think working musicians could really take advantage of. So yeah, there are lots of things we could have done in Finale within the box that is Finale. But when you think about Finale in the context of the whole stream of what a musician's trying to achieve, I think that's one of the main reasons that we went with sharing as well.
Awesome. Now, one of my favorite parts about these roundtables that we get to have is getting to hear some of the background and flow of the Finale team itself. Could you just share a little bit of what it was like working on this feature? It was a big part of the V27 release. We'd love to kind of your experience and what it was like.
Yeah, sure. So I can get started on this question. Yeah, it was really nice. And to give you some context, this was really the first time that we had connected Finale to the cloud in a significant way. And this meant that we had to sort of create all this infrastructure from the ground up. And anytime that you're creating something that's brand new is always fun as a developer. So that aspect of it was very, very creative and fun, right? And then something else that was also not nice about working with this feature that's not specific to it to being new. It was that we were able to collaborate with the web teams within Make Music, which is also rare when we do work in Finale. And that was also great. We have two web teams. We call them the Boulder web team and then the Paris web team. And for this specific project, we had a chance to work with both. And yeah, that was great. I just also want to give them a shout out. It was great to work with them.
Great.
And I want to give a shout out to Marco also. That not only was this the first time as a company that we've done such a large cross-team collaboration. On the Finale side, at least for engineering, Marco was pretty much the one guy working on it. He was really a one-man show, and also took on some of the complex project management tasks. Was very autonomous with it, ended up with a great product, which I'm very happy with as a product owner. And that's not to downplay the contributions of other people on the Finale team as well. Certainly, our UX designer, Melanie, did a lot of heavy lifting with user research, creating the user flows so that it would be so easy to use and just be a couple clicks, making sure that the text that shows up on, I mean, you have to think about these little minute things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that the right words are on the screen so people understand what's going on. All that kind of stuff Melanie was in charge of. And then we also had a couple other people on the Finale team, Doug and Steve in particular, that I can think of, who are not, their day job is not really as a developer or an engineer. They work mostly with testing, with automation. Steve's been doing more engineering stuff lately. But they were stepping up and working on the code underlying the user interface and helping Marco with that as well. And it's really cool to see the team come together in that way and step outside of the usual roles and just get something done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it always sounds like such a fun team to work with and be a part of. It's always fun to take a peek kind of behind that curtain of Finale and see how things work.